Welcome in, everybody, to Betting Pros. It's time to place your bets. It is me, Joe Pisapia, and this is BP NFL. And to help us break down the best bets of Week 5 in the NFL, Terrell Furman Jr. and the Undertaker himself, Andrew Erickson. And I can tell you, Terrell already lined up a lot of ugly today. You might have to just kind of cover your eyes and bet it. Some of that worked out last week, and Terrell and I are already getting into it before the show, arguing all over the place. So this is going to be a hot one today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel wherever you get your podcasts as well. Subscribe to Betting Pros. And of course, don't forget to download the Betting Pros app for iOS and for Android and sync your sportsbooks for free. That way you can track all your bets across the major sportsbooks in one spot. You can monitor your performances, see what you're good at, see what you're bad at. Also get help with the game picks, props, and parlays. You've got the SGP tool in there as well nowadays. So right now, get that free trial of Betting Pros Premium when you download the app today and activate that sucker so you can start betting smarter and not harder. Gentlemen, I want to jump right into the pool, and I want to talk about this Jets game with the Minnesota Vikings because both of you have feelings about it. Terrell, you and I were arguing about those feelings coming into the show today. So kick things off for us, baby. Walk us through what you see when it comes to Minnesota, New York in London.
Oh, yeah, we were 100% arguing because I'm a contrarian better. And so I take the contrarian side. And I'm on the Jets plus 2.5 here. And you know what? You know I'm a contrarian better because I took the Broncos plus 7.5 last week.
You did.
And I told you to take them. And I told everybody. And I got, they were after me too. They were laying 7.5 with that Jets team. But now this Jets team is a dog. And they're catching points against a Minnesota Vikings team that is 4-0 this season. And I just don't believe that they're going to get to 5-0. And I've had this written down since the beginning of the year. Since I've seen the pattern, Daniel Jones, Brock Purdy, CJ Stroud, Jordan Love, Brian Flores' defense has been really, really good, better than I expected in the beginning of the season, but he's also been taking advantage of the fact he's been playing younger quarterbacks. He's been throwing them looks that they haven't seen before. He's been getting them off of their stride. Now he's playing a veteran quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, and I know you're not a big Aaron Rodgers guy, but look, this at the end of the day, he's a veteran quarterback that has seen these protections, seen these schemes, and he knows where to go with the football. He's going to make the smart decision with the football. I don't need him to go out there and try to air the ball out 60 yards downfield. But if you're at a 3rd and 4 and they're throwing this look at you, I need you to just be able to get the first down and keep the chains moving. And I think that's what they're going to be able to do here. I think that they're going to pick apart the defense, do enough to continuously put up points on board. And on the other side of the ball, this is the Jets defense to go out there and completely have a party and have a day. I think that they're still a really, really good defense overall, one of the top defenses in the league. And I think this is going to be the opportunity where they say, hey, after that embarrassing Broncos loss at home, this is a big get back spot, a big get right spot for them. I like the Jets plus 2.5. Get this done.
If you really like the Jets, why don't you bet them on the money line?
I sprinkle my dogs on the money line. I don't know. You might just take a dog and say you just want the spread, but I always sprinkle the money line on all of my dogs. That's why I got Broncos money line last week. Thank you very much.
Good. I'm glad you did. And speaking of Jets being dogs, maybe it's time to admit that dog should maybe be taken out behind the shed because it's old and it's done. And maybe it's just
you were on them last week.
I was because I thought, if you can't beat Bo Nix in your own building, you have zero respect for me as a football organization.
But now we got to take them behind the shed.
Bo Nix at one point at halftime, Bo Nix was 7 for 15 for negative yards.
7 yards. He was
negative 7 yards. And yet you still find a way to lose that game. And you think somehow this organization is going to pull itself up by the haunches and rally around each other with all these good feelings of us against the world and get on a plane to London and somehow figure it out against the Minnesota Vikings defense that's been rushing guys like crazy. Look, he might be able to recognize what's going on, but can he stand upright long enough to execute against it? That's my question. Andrew Erickson, you could clearly see Terrell guys. And I are fighting. So this is great. This is like, where's Stephen A. Smith? Where are we going to bring him in here? But look, where do you see this game? How are you approaching it? Because I understand where Terrell's coming from with maybe it's closer. England, weird things happen. But what's your take on Minnesota, New York?
Yeah, weird things happen in England, but what has been the trend a lot of times is the favorite. So going back to T being contrarian, going with the underdog, which I like.
80%.
But the other trend is unders. Unders hit 4-0 last year in London. All the international games last year were under the total. Points are down this year. We're not just going to go overseas and we're going to suddenly see, oh, well, now the offenses are all back. Especially when you look at this matchup. Again, I still like the Vikings defense a lot. They're 3-1 towards the under this season. I still think the Jets' strength of their team is still on defense. It wasn't the defense's fault that they lost to Bo Nix because the offense couldn't move the ball. So I like this to be a defensive matchup between the Vikings and the Jets, going back to weird things happen in these London games. And I think that's going to result in less execution from the offensive sides of both teams. Sam Darnold, the production is eventually going to come down. His touchdown rate is 10%. That's not sustainable for the entire season. So if he's not throwing nearly as many touchdowns, you're going to see less scoring overall. So for me, I think that it's the under for me. So I want to wake up, maybe miss half the game and look up and say, hey, if I'm on the West Coast, I could bet this game, bet the under, wake up, oh, cashed, done. What'd I miss? Nothing. You didn't miss anything. All you did was miss your win because you woke up and the
you
under
missed
cashed.
The Jets win.
So,
That's what you missed.
maybe you missed the Jets win.
The Jets win.
If there's not a lot of points, which is kind of how I'm viewing this game, again, Rodgers a little bit banged up. I like the under.
All right, let's see if we can agree on some of the next things the guys have. I do like the 40.5. I am feeling that. Let's go to Terrell's second pick. Let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals. Look, this is a team last week I think had some expectations and they fell pretty short. Mm-hmm. So how do they bounce back this week in a situation where, look, against the 49ers, at times you've seen them really show up in those games and give the 49ers all they can handle. I'm looking towards that direction. I like the Cardinals in the points, but what do you like in this one?
Yeah, I like the Cardinals and the points here.
See, we're friends again.
Yeah, no, this is a really, just like that is, hey, you're on the right side this time. Like, I like it. I like it. So here, the Cardinals, and it's another close your eyes special. Last week, and you know what? I'm very annoyed because this is what I get. I always give out the close your eyes special. And you know what? I didn't give out the close your eyes special because it was the Jags. And guess what? Sure enough, the close your eyes special hit. Because when it's ugly, is nasty, and I still bet it. When it's ugly, nasty, and mucky, you take it. And now you get the Cardinals here after that disgusting game against the Commanders where nothing possibly went right. But here we are. We have Kyle Shanahan, yet again, another large favorite. I talked about this on this show when we got the Rams. He's not good laying these amount of points. Now, he was able to do it last week against the lowly New England Patriots. I think this is a better get-up spot for the Cardinals playing the division rivals, a team you feel comfortable with. Kyler Murray is going to go in there and pick apart this San Francisco 49ers team, who is also a little beat up. Like, I think that they don't have the full assortment of their team yet as well. I think this team is slightly overrated from where they were last year to where they are this year. This is way too many points. I think Cardinals going to cover.
I was just trying to keep track of all the lowlies. Speaking of the lowly Patriots, you get that? They're lowly, Andrew. Just want to make sure.
Oh, I know.
You know. We know better than anybody about our lowly Patriots. But he really had to throw in that last one just to stick it to us. They play Miami this week. Tyler Huntley was not the answer, at least not yet, for this offense. The Patriots have no offense to speak of. It's already a low number, but Erickson, are we still going under in this total?
Yeah, because the final score is going to be 10-7. And 17 is underneath 36 points. So, yeah, I understand that the number is already low, but we see plenty of games finish with under 20 points total, especially when scoring is down overall in the league. So I'm looking at the trend. 7 of the Dolphins' last 9 games have gone under the total. How can the Patriots move the ball in this particular matchup? Oh, they should run the ball. Oh, well, they just put David Andrews, their best offensive lineman, at center on injured reserve. Oh, okay, that's great. Oh, their best running back? He might be benched because he's fumbled 4 times in 4 straight games. Not a great look for the offense if you're taking your best player off the field. So more issues about how the Patriots can move the offense. Miami has been very boomer bust against the run. So I think it's going to be a lot of 3-and-outs. It's going to be a lot of punts. The only way I see this game going over is if you're getting wild turnovers from both sides of the ball. But I don't think either team wants to drop back and throw the ball 40 times. The Patriots, I think, will take their lumps, run the ball 3 straight times, punt. Whatever. Yeah. We don't care. We're just going to, because they can't pass protect. Jacoby Brissett's, the Patriots media is talking about, we got to play Drake May. We got to play Drake May. Guys, Drake May will get his time because Jacoby Brissett's not going to last the entire season if he's taking this many hits every single week. He takes more hits than throws actual passes in the game. So that's a tangent. That's a side note. But for me, I just don't see a scenario where with Miami's offense, without Tua, they have scored more than 21 points one time over the last 2 seasons without Tua Tagovailoa. They just can't function at the level that you would expect with all their explosive playmakers. I haven't been encouraged at all from what I've seen from Miami without Tua the last 2 weeks. I haven't seen the game planning I expected from McDaniel to really utilize his weapons in the best way. Achane, why are you running this guy up the middle? Get him in space. I'm just not seeing that from him. So they have a bye week coming up. I think that they're just trying to get through this game, maybe escape with a win. I don't think you're going to see a dynamic offensive game plan. Yet again, I think they really need to kind of get back to the basics when they hit their bye week and then get back in week 8. So for me, both games went over last week for the Dolphins and the Patriots. That's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row. So I'm taking the under.
I like Miami on this side, man. This is just easy. Like, I just think they can have that one play that Tyreek Hill makes.
I do.
Or
I do
Jalen Waddle
agree with
make.
that
And
as
that's
well.
it. That's your touchdown. That's your 10. And the other team's at 3. Like, I just think, at the end of the day, it's that one player who can have that moment. And that's all you need to carry you over the day. And I just don't know if New England has that on their roster. And that's just
Miami
how do you feel about Miami's
Miami has
defense?
3 of those guys.
How do you feel
How do
about
I feel?
Miami's defense? Like, I mean,
I don't know. I
Jacoby
haven't seen it
Brissett
yet.
and New England have at least been able to put up some amount of points. Like,
I haven't
Mi-
seen Miami's defense all year, so I couldn't tell you.
Miami's
Yeah.
defense doesn't
Exactly.
let up third downs. They're number 1 in third down conversion rate. The Patriots can't convert.
It's true.
That's the issue with Miami.
Mhm.
Like, that's why, yeah. So the Patriots can't move the ball. So,
Yeah,
understand.
it's when you both when you're walking and you walk into somebody and they will go right and then you go right and then you're like trying to get past each other, like, oh sorry, and then you both go left and then it's, oh, I'm sorry. That's what this game is. It's like you just want to get past each other. No, we don't really want to get past you. It's gonna look a lot like that for about 3 hours. That's what it is. So before we get on to the next pick here, just a quick reminder to everybody to make sure you hit up our Discord, bettingpros.com/chat. It's a great way to, kind of work through your bets with some of the folks there. Some of the analysts are on there as well. Matt Peralt's on there, always giving out picks and hanging out with everybody. There's some AMAs on there. So there's a lot of opportunity to get more insight into weekly NFL betting or whatever betting you're doing. Obviously, Terrell's got all the NBA action. It's going to be heating up pretty soon here. So there's a lot of discussions going on in our Discord, a lot of help there too, especially if you're new to sports betting. It's a great way to be part of our community. So again, join us for free, bettingpros.com/chat. Over 30,000 people are in there already. You can get picks, you can get help, you can get direction, which is also good. And while you're making those picks too, don't forget also NFL podcast group, sync your picks, use the quick pick feature. You don't even have to make bets. You just have to make picks. We're doing weekly prizes, monthly prizes. Go to bettingpros.com/NFL contest. Or if you have the app already, just go to the community tab and find NFL contests and join us there as well. Let's get to Terrell's Giants. So Malik Neighbors, as of now, probably looking like, unfortunately, not going to go for this game. They're going to take on the Seahawks coming off a bad loss. So, Terrell, what's your take on this contest?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I'm still not laying this amount of points with Geno Smith. It's just not. It's not a spot that he's ever been good at all in his tenure as a starter since being with the Seattle Seahawks. In fact, he's actually 4-8-1 ATS as a home favorite for the Seattle Seahawks. And if we go and take it a little further and hey, what is he doing when it's over a field goal? Is slightly worse, 3-7-1. Like, he does not cover this number. It just isn't the makeup of Geno Smith and this team. They always find a way to either allow the other team in the game or to just muck up the end of it and blow it at the end. Whereas Brian Dable, pretty good as a dog. He's coached his team up as a dog before. They were able to cover Thursday. They also have long rest coming off the Thursday game with short rest for the Seattle Seahawks coming off Monday Night Football. Going over, I think they're going to travel well. They're going to go over there. They've been playing Seattle pretty decently, and I think that this defense actually gave Seattle a whole bunch of problems when they played last year. So I think it's going to be some of the same here. The defense keeps them in the game. It's a really, really low scoring game. Geno Smith, he does win these games, but he doesn't cover them. So I like the Giants plus 6.5 here in another ugly, ugly, ugly game.
I'd like it a lot more if Neighbors were playing and Devin Singletary's banged up too. Yeah, the Giants have only gone over 20 points once this year. And
take Jalen Hyatt touchdown. Go ahead and play that now.
God.
I'm calling it now.
God. But I mean, that's the problem. It's like, can they generate enough offense for this number? That's the only hesitation I have without Neighbors. Can they do that? We'll see. But the theory behind it's very good.
I don't think Seattle's offense is gonna show up. What you saw on Monday night, I think, is an anomaly to the Detroit Lions, and I think the New York Giants are gonna play it a lot better. This is a low scoring game, and I tell you to take the under.
All right, let's go to the Panthers next. Erickson, should I call them your Carolina Panthers? I feel like the way you were talking about them in the preseason, they should. But they're playing the Chicago Bears this week. The Bears are home favorites, not typically, but they are in this one, -3.5 right now. They're 2-2. The Panthers are 1-3. So the Andy Dalton experiment was fun for a week. Last week kind of came back down to earth. So where does that leave the Panthers in week 5?
I like them on the road. Again, how good is this Bears team really, right? Look, when you look at how they've done at home, so they are 2-0 at home and against the spread, but it's been by the slimmest of margins. Again, week 1 was the Will Levis experience, of course. When you look at, they've been outgained in both games. Again, against the Rams last week, the Rams should have won that game outright, but it didn't end up working out. So I think for me, it really goes back to the turnovers in those games. 5-1 turnover ratio in favor of the Chicago Bears. That's why they've won these home games. It's not because they've been the better team on paper. They have not. Again, they've been outgained by their opponents at home in those 2 games. So I look at Dave Canales. What did he do last year with Baker Mayfield in this offense when they were road underdogs? They were 8-2 against the spread. He gets the best out of his offense when they play on the road, when they're being counted out, essentially. So I like the Panthers here. I'm not afraid of this Bears team. Caleb Williams has still not put it all together quite yet. I think that he is taking steps and improving, but I haven't really seen the full package yet. And it goes down to, I have no faith in Shane Waldron. I don't think that he's going to be able to devise a game plan. As obvious as it is, just run the ball against the Carolina Panthers. Their linebackers are all hurt. Their defensive tackles are all hurt. But he's going to just overthink it and think, all right, let's drop back 40 times with Caleb Williams. This will work. And it's not going to. So I'm putting my faith into Canales, getting the best out of Andy Dalton on the road where they're being counted out against just an inferior Bears team that I don't think that should be getting this many points even at home, where I think it's kind of been overrated how well they've played at home.
Look, the Rams should have won that game last week, in all honesty.
I mean, and the Titans should have won in week 1.
Right. I mean, honestly, they should be 0-2 at home. Levis handed them a victory, and Matthew Stafford kind of did too. That terrible pick that he threw when they were in that red zone, it absolutely just killed them, and they were, already behind because they're, down talent. Let's go to another big matchup here. AFC Bills-Texans. Now, the Bills coming off a ass-kicking of epic proportions against the Ravens this past week. The Texans are a team that feels a little flat. Terrell, they feel like a team that, to me so far, is starting to understand what the burden of expectation is. Last year they had none. This year they have some. We could talk about the Stephon Diggs thing. I don't know if that enters your sphere or not when you're wagering on this game, but what do you see in the future for this contest between the Texans and the Bills?
Well, the Bills got beat so bad, they actually would have been a close your eyes special if they were catching points this week. That's how bad that they got beat. Unfortunately, the Bills 1-point favorite here, so the close your eyes special is not active. However, I'm taking the under. I like under 47.5 here between these two teams. And everybody's thinking, oh, Josh Allen, CJ Stroud take the over. But wait just a second. Look at what the Houston Texans defense does at home. And I'm going to take you on a trip to last year. And I'm just going to read off the totals. Gave up 20 to Indianapolis. Gave up 6 to the Steelers. 13 to the Saints. They had the big game, 37. You was just talking about how they were on the road last year. 37 points to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then after that, 16, 17, 3, 14. Go into this season, they've given up 20 to the 20. They gave up 20 to the Jags last week, and they gave up 13 to the Bears. This defense does come up big at home, and it's been against different quarterbacks, different offenses, different spots, but the same result. They haven't given up more than 21 points, but just once. So I think it's going to be a little bit of the same here. I think the defense is going to come up. Texans are going to look really, really good defensively at home. And that I question Stroud as well in this offense. And I don't think that the Diggs thing is working out. And I think that something is off about that offense where they're just not able to consistently put the drives together that they need to. So ultimately, I think this game goes under. I think this is a low scoring game. This is going to be more about the defenses than both quarterbacks in this game. And, both of the teams, I think with the low point spread, we're expecting for it to be competitive. I just expect for it to be defensive and competitive. So, yeah, I'm taking the under 47.5.
It's very interesting that you said that, too, because I think people's immediate reactions, they see these big quarterbacks, the big names, and they rush to the over no matter what the number is. And I think you giving people pause today is a really interesting point because it is a pretty high total, 47.5. And if you look just back at last week, right? Washington Commanders, Arizona, like, oh, these are two teams, like nobody plays defense. These quarterbacks are young and athletic. They're going to, no, disappointed, because the Cardinals didn't keep up their end of the bargain. So I think you're doing a good job here alerting everybody. I think this one's one everybody should be on this week. This under is really interesting. Next up, Cleveland, Washington. Speaking of the Commanders, so Cleveland just handed a game to the Raiders last week. Unbelievable. It's like, again, it's like nobody wants to win their football games. I don't know what's going on here. The conquering hero, Jaden Daniels, comes home. So Erickson, what does this one look like for you from a betting perspective?
Going right back to the over. It's a Commanders game, right? So I'm going right back to the over here. Last week, I still believe the total went over because the Commanders scored so many points on their own that it actually ended up going over the closing line total. So I'm going back to the over. 9 of the Commanders' last 12 games have gone over the point total. Basically, the number you're looking for is when Washington allows at least 20 points on defense, they're 12-3 towards the over. You look at the implied team totals this week, the Browns sitting at 20 implied points. So all the Browns have to do is just, hey, do what the expectation is. That's all you have to do. You don't have to be above average in any way, and this game's going to fly over. Look, Deshaun Watson, for all the criticism that he deserves to have and get, he had his best game of the season last week. There were so many points that did not count because of penalties, because of drop passes. He threw an 80-yard touchdown that got called back because of a BS holding call. So I think that the numbers are going to reflect that more in this matchup. It's a matchup that he can take advantage of against the Commanders in their horrible secondary. And then I also don't think the Browns can stop Jaden Daniels. Who can stop Jaden Daniels? And I know that there's been about, Jaden Daniels, this is a tougher defense he hasn't faced yet. What have the Browns shown this year that looks anything like what they were last year, especially when it comes to their home road splits? This team has historically been much worse defensively when they play on the road. They are in the bottom of the league in terms of missed tackles. You look at the Commanders' offense, one of the best things they are doing is forcing missed tackles between their running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends. So I have no issues about Daniels moving the ball against this Browns defense. And I think that we could get something out of Deshaun Watson with Amari Cooper, potentially David Njoku coming back with Jerry Jeudy. So I like the over in this game.
All right. So the over for the Cleveland, Washington, the under for Bills, Texans. Before we get to the upset special, give me one more, guys. Let's talk about the Jaguars because they are up against it. Terrell, you got to go 0-5 here to start the season. That's when people start losing their jobs. So what happens in Jacksonville? And again, we got to speculate because as of now, we're not sure exactly who is playing quarterback for the Colts.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing that happens in Jacksonville is the same thing that's been happening in Jacksonville since 2017. And that's the fact that the Indianapolis Colts do not win in Jacksonville. It doesn't happen. They don't win in Jacksonville. Like, this is ridiculous. They haven't won here since 2014.
Since the NFL merger.
The NFL merger. It's been forever. Like, the Indianapolis Colts do not win in Jacksonville. And so this is the AFC South flow chart. And this is the week that everybody talks themselves into the Colts. They talk themselves into Joe Flacco being able to get this done, or they talk themselves into Anthony Richardson starting and being able to get this done. Despite the fact, I think Joe Flacco is slightly overrated. I think he had the good Joe Flacco's back this week, and then it comes back down on the road next week. And then Anthony Richardson, if he does play, we should just go ahead and lock this up because Anthony Richardson is going to give us the win. I mean, he's going to throw the ball in the end zone and all the critiques that I have had about Anthony Richardson in that game before the Steelers played last week are still there. They are still there. No matter how that game ended and him they're still there. So if Anthony Richardson plays in this game, I just do not trust the Colts right now. But I really don't trust them in the false prophet that is Joe Flacco right now. So absolutely. I think this is a Jags get the win. Finally, it's needed. It doesn't mean anything more about the Jags being better about their season. It's just reinforces what we already know, that Indianapolis does not win in Jacksonville.
All right, Andrew Erickson, when we did the look-ahead show, and in case you missed it, you can go back and watch on the YouTube channel. Came out on Monday. Last game, you and I were talking about the Saints. You and I were talking about, are the Chiefs at a weird, vulnerable point right now? So we are here now a few days later. We said we'd come back to this spot and rejoin and come together. So after a couple days to marinate on it, where are you when it comes to Chiefs Saints?
I'm taking the Saints to win in the upset on Monday Night Football. Get your popcorn ready, people, because this Chiefs team at 4-0, yes, they have been great. Great. Have they been great? Well, they've been winning games, and great teams find ways to win, but eventually your luck starts to run out. I compared them to the Eagles last year, where the Eagles kept winning all these games, but you looked at the advanced metrics and you'd say, like, how good is this team really? They just lost their best wide receiver, Rashee Rice. He's not going to be back probably for the rest of the season. The Chiefs have a bye week coming up. They would love to get on their bye week, and all they have to do is just take care of Derek Carr, a familiar opponent. Oh, it's just Derek Carr, whatever. But Derek Carr and this new offense, they've been pretty good to start the year. Derek Carr has won in Kansas City before. Not many quarterbacks have been able to do that ever. So where the intimidation factor comes into play, where a lot of teams go into KC, it's just a place, Arrowhead Stadium, man, you can't go here and win. Derek Carr's already done that. Like, he has done it before. Again, he hasn't done it every single time because it's very hard to do, but he's gone into KC and had productive games. He's actually 2-2 against the spread in his last 4 games playing in Kansas City. So I like Derek Carr with the upset here on the road against the Kansas City Chiefs, who, again, they're 4-0. They could be 0-4, right? When you just look at how close all of these games have been. Week 1, it was the toe. Week 2, the Harrison Butker field goal. Week 3, the pass interference. Week 4, the Chargers were winning that game up, and then they also didn't have their offensive tackle. So things have just really worked in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs, I think, through the first 4 weeks of the season. And I want to take advantage when their luck runs out. And I think it runs out on Monday night. Give me the Chiefs to lose.
Well, that'll bring us to our upset special, and Erickson and I are holding hands here. We're going to continue to look. And so the Saints, the safer way to bet this is just to take the Saints with the points heavy. Plus 5.5. That gives you some outs here. Like if Patrick Mahomes with 1:30 left marches down the field and they get a field goal to win the game, I think that is the smartest way to take advantage of what could be something that might be a little wrong in the marketplace. Taking the Saints with the 5.5, was it minus 105 you're getting on that? That's a really good investment, I think. But if you want to have some fun, and as Terrell said, if you're going to back some of your dogs, you might as well be betting money line too. Then you got to go plus 205 and throw something on there too, just in case Patrick Mahomes can't pull the rabbit out of his hat this time at home against the Saints. And look, Alvin Kamara's been running the football with a vengeance. He's been terrific. So you got to look at him as a great way to control the game a little bit, control the clock a little bit. Don't give Kansas City too many opportunities here. And right now, without Rashee Rice, no Hollywood Brown, Travis Kelce looking a little less Travis Kelce most of the time, certainly some opportunity, which brings us to the parlay of the week too. So let's take the Saints on the money line because we're having fun. Give me the Seahawks on the money line too, just to spite Terrell. Give me the Seahawks to beat up the Giants. Throw that in.
No, yeah, Terrell said that.
Yeah, they're 8-5 straight up. They're 8-5 straight up in that spot. So that's a pretty good spot.
Now I'm gonna go take the Seahawks with the points. No, but I'm gonna stay with the Seahawks on the money line, the Saints on the money line, and give me the Packers -3 to just obliterate the Rams. I think they're going to absolutely just stomp a mud hole at -115. You put those 3 things together, you get plus 677. That to me is a good day at the office. And the nice thing about it is, if you get the Packers to cover the 3 and Seattle win the football game, that Monday night game is looming. You might get offered a cash out, or you could even wait in-game live. Maybe the Saints go up in that first drive, get a score, then you take the cash out. So there you go. Watch it carefully, folks. Parlays are about making money on investments. You don't have to see them all the way through to the end, but we're going to see the show to the end right now. Don't forget to drop your comments below. What is your favorite bet of the week for week 5? Drop it below and join our Discord. Talk about it too. Again, bettingpros.com/chat. And don't forget to subscribe to the Betting Pros YouTube channel and subscribe wherever you get your podcast to Betting Pros. That'll do it for us, but the story of the game goes on. For Terrell and Andrew Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids.